Hello everyone, Bashar here. So we are together with another build guide. So I was playing this on stream the other day. A few people have jumped in and asked, if I could do a guide on it. I promised them I was going to do it, and I am fulfilling that promise. The reason it took me a few days is that it wasn't ready, right? I didn't realize the full power of the build then, and also some gems etc were shaky because this is based on, again, like last time, on a max roll build. But sadly I will this time around the build. It has not been updated since patch release, and sadly it's very old. The gems are wrong, the skills are wrong, the tree is sadly also very out of date. So I will provide the link to the max roll guide if you guys want to peruse that as well. But it needs some improvements. So what do we have? First off, the gems, I guess. I still couldn't get this right. Yeah. So we have Herald of Thunder. Well, our main skill is going to be explosive shot, right? We use explosive shot with scatter shot, martial tempo, conduction, fire penetration, and rising tempest. So this could be a little bit surprising. We'll get to that, right? We have shock burst rounds as well. For the shock burst rounds, concentrated effect, primal armament, lightning, evasion, and heft. I don't have a 6 socket here. Could do brutality maybe, right? Emergency reload. We have ingenuity, premeditation. Yeah, this I cannot properly utilize this, right? As we also have voltaic marker with persistence. Persistence can be used on emergency reload, but I rather like the voltaic mark staying longer on the guy. But they can definitely be interchanged. As for spirit reservation thingies, we have Herald of Thunder, Wind Dancer, and Overwhelming Presence. Overwhelming Presence is not very important. So the thing is, guys, this build can actually be done with the base 100 spirit, and you don't have to get any other extra spirit, right? I'm using, as you can see, almost 150 here, but that's just me using a lot of additional spirit reservation gems, and they are not a must, obvious, right? Not getting any additional spirit is a big boon, I would say. So what do we have in the Herald of Thunder? Magnified effect, long shot, innervate, deadly herald. So that reserves another 20 spirit. You could get lightning mastery here. For Wind Dancer, we have blind, cannibalism, and vitality. If you don't have the extra spirit, as I told you, you can just use maim here. There's no need for anything. Overwhelming presence is just a luxury. So this used to be good, but the problem is when they were nerfing everything, even presence got their part, right? Presence was used to be around 6 meters in radius, right? And now there was some way of displaying the radius actually here. Yeah, I just can't. So now it's 4 meters from 6 meters. So guys, approximately presence is somewhere along these columns, right? These pillars. Maybe a little bit further, but that's it. It used to be, quite like here. So running presence is not a must. So I have spirit on my amulet, but it's absolutely not needed because you can just do Herald of Thunder, 30 spirit, Herald of Wind Dancer, that's another 30 spirit, that's 60. You can do Deadly Herald, that's 80. And yeah, you can just put in Vitality or Cannibalism. If you use Cannibalism, you can also use Clarity, which improves mana regen. Not that big a deal, but it's free real estate, you know what I mean? It's, I believe, 5 only. Clarity, let me find it. Yeah. Oh no, its resolution is 10, so that won't work. But Deadly Herald is the more important one. So that's it. Obviously, we will be using a crossbow. So what do? We use explosive shot. Okay, I was wondering if I was confusing them. Explosive shot and shock burst rounds. Explosive shot is meant for kind of everything, and shock burst rounds is meant for bosses and nastier rares when you don't have the proper gear. When you have the proper gear, you won't really need shock burst round for rares. We have emergency reload, that's another boss thingy. So the thing is that shock burst rounds does a ton of damage, but the target has to be shocked. If the target is not shocked, it's not going to deal any damage, and even though it's lightning, it specifically cannot inflict shock by itself. So what you have to do is you do the voltaic mark on the boss, right? You shot explosive shot, you shock them, then you switch shock burst rounds nuke as long as shock persists. If the shock persists more, right, you reload and you nuke again, and they should be pretty close to dying at that point. So guys, you might have a burning question, get the pun, burning, because this obviously is a fire ability. So how the hell do I shock with low explosive shot, right? Well, the secret is in the helmet. It's a 3 dragons. So what that causes is it helps our fire damage not ignite but shock. It helps our cold damage not freeze or chill but ignite, and it helps our lightning damage freeze instead of shock. So this will shock, right? So this is a must for the build, and this is one of the reasons that I am not very convinced that this is a really good build, right? So this is an okay build, let's say. Okay build, I think, would be fair. And I was kind of in between, should I do a guide for this, because the build is not that good, but as I said, some guys ask for me to do it, so I am. And it can handle tier 50 maps or anything. It can actually go even better. As you will now observe, I'm on a huge budget build, right? I only have a decent weapon and a decent chest. Everything else is terrible budget, and I still can do tier 15 maps. So your crossbow is important. You want mostly physical damage. Mine is right now, I think, something 800 DPS. Yeah, this changes. You have to be mindful of the attribute requirements. Sometimes you can get the reduced attribute requirements, but when you can't, the highest level of crossbows, I believe, require 116 each. So crossbow goes, it's a dexterity strength hybrid, right? So your gems will require dexterity and strength. So that's it. For the chest, we want high evasion because we will be utilizing acrobatics. Sadly, it's been nerfed to the extremes. It's very hard to make it work, right? I have a lot of investment in evasion, and you'll see when I'm fully buffed, everything goes. I have like 71% evasion. That's it. After acrobatics, because acrobatics' evasion penalty has been increased from 70% up to 75%. Wind Dancer has been terribly nerfed. It used to provide 15 to 19% evasion per level, and you could do quality on it to get a 4th stage. Now you can't get the 4th stage, and it's 10% evasion at every level. So that means, guys, back then we were able to get 76% evasion from Wind Dancer. Now we get 30, right? And imagine also acrobatics penalizes your evasion by 75% instead of 70. Yeah, the amount goes lower and lower, and of course there is a lot of minor nerfs that you might miss. There are more smaller nodes in the tree, right? So that means you have to spend more points in order to be able to get to notables. On top of that, we have much fewer jewel slots, and not on top of that, the remaining jewel slots have been moved out of their places to more offhand areas. So you also have to spend, right? So for example, guys, patch 01 build would have like 9 jewel slots when they are fully realized. In here you would have to spend like extra 4 or 5 points, and you would have maybe 4, right? I mean, extra points and less than half, right? It's terrible. So the spirit on the amulet is not necessary. I have gone with high alert for more evasion. Yeah. More evasion on full life, more stun threshold on full life, which means you should be chucking your potion when your HP is not full, right? So it does stay full. The chest is the most important part because we have a lot of I mean, more evasion from the chest, etc. So that's the most important part. So not only it gives us the highest evasion, it also gets multiplied by 2 or something. Just show you, where is it? This one. See? It's very important. I mean, it has to be definitely above 2k, right? And as you can see, mine is a little bit bad, right? Early season, I was just, no resistances whatsoever, as you can see, sadly. Yeah. So my rings are terrible as well. This is the better one, I think. Yeah. So we have a little bit evasion, some life, a little bit of attributes, and an okay amount of resistance, I guess, if we include the implicit as well. So 57 resistances, 26 attributes, life and evasion. This one should be worse, if I recall. Yeah. Better evasion, a little bit better life, but much lower resistances and lower attributes. Yeah. But I will explain. This one is, okay amount of resistances, bad attack speed, right? It can go up to 16 or something. Low life, yeah. The belt is also, not really very good. Low life for belt, decent resistances, some mana. Mana does help later on. Earlier on, it doesn't, because there is just no mana problem whatsoever. You will now observe that there is a bit of a mana problem. Well, not a problem, but maybe. So the movement speed, life, mana, and just one is, as you can see, everything is budget. So I will explain to you how and why. So guys, I did level with a gas arrow build, right? We have a guide on that. So I was planning on switching to this, right? And I had saved up around 2 divine with minor sales, and I was planning on doing 1 divine on the weapon and 1 divine on the chest, because those are the most important. And I had, like, the makings of about 20 exalted to do the everything else. At this point, a divine is worth about 30, 35 exalted. So, 2/3 of a divine or thereabouts. And I thought, I would have an easy job. But I had a nasty surprise in store. The 3 dragons, which is normally a really, mediocre legendary, right? Mediocre unique. It's like 1 exalted maybe, right? And it was like people were asking for a divine, right? But this is like day 2 or day 3, something like that. And I just couldn't get it for cheap, right? So I spent some time and I was able to get it like for 15 exalt or something. But imagine, as I said, I had like 20 exalt to spend, 25 exalt maybe on the other stuff. All of a sudden, the 3 dragons cost me much more than I had to do, all these budget moves. I just went for the, as you can see, 75%. By the way, let me show you this. Okay, so fully buffed, full HP, full tailwind stacked, and full wind dancer. I have 71% evasion after acrobatics. Life is meh, no energy shield to speak of. Basically, we have some mana. Chaos reasons I have none, as you can see, right? I just have the 10 from the thingy, the venom crits. Yeah, and that's about it. So why am I so half-assed, right? I'm a little bit weak, as you can see. The thing is, guys, the spirit I have here is a bit of a waste, right? The 3 dragons is very conditional. I don't think it's very necessary. So it is absolutely necessary for this build, obviously. But, you could just use galvanic burst or galvanic rounds or whatever it's called, the lightning version of this, and you can rid yourself of this. So what this helps is that it also helps shock burst rounds to freeze the bosses. But the counterproductive thing is, guys, shock duration is very small, right? Unless you have some additional shock investment, and your shock would expire. So you can't just go, wall take mark, 1 or 2 explosive shots, shock the enemy, nuke them with shock burst rounds, refill the shock burst rounds with emergency reload, and nuke and kill. Nope. And you will be freezing, etc. But in the time frame, guys, shock just expires. Shock has a 4-second duration. And it expires. That's the problem. Shield charge, pay no mention to it, right? I was using it while leveling. At this point, it's just not very necessary. I have a mace in my offhand thingy. So, but the general idea remains the same. You should be investing in your crossbow and in your chest. At this point, I guess you can get something like 2,500, depends on your budget. So guys, the whole thing right now would be costing around 3 divines maybe at this quality. So 1 divine, 1 divine, and everything else. 1 divine maybe. We have a life flask, we have a mana flask, we have a freeze charm, and we are going to get 3 charm slots relatively soon. Then you should be using a freeze charm, a stun charm, and a slow charm. I believe it's called silver charm. So, anti-freeze, anti-stun, and anti-slow. Right? You could use the rarity one as well, but the rarity one is a little bit bad because it only triggers after you have killed the rare. So what's the point, right? I mean, there have to be multiple rares around, and as you can see, I have just 0 rarity, right? Because I have been going budget. So the skill tree here. So that's what I did. Yeah, we have harness the elements, we have escape velocity, we have freedom of movement. That's been changed a little bit. We have this one. This is nice. That provides a lot of dexterity for us. Yeah, more evasion. We have acrobatics. And guys, if you don't have like 85% or so evasion, you shouldn't be allocating acrobatics. I mean, you should be having at least 65% or thereabouts evasion after acrobatics, or it wouldn't be worth it. Yeah, maiming strike. So I have this. That's what helps me with acrobatics. So guys, the build is mostly focused on not getting it at all. Yeah, for rares, etc. So yeah, I have been planning on making a better version of this build. It's in the works. I think I need a little bit currency because I went very budget on that one, and I'm going to do the opposite on that one. I'm gonna make a expensive and decent build. So it's not bad. Let me just show you, by the way. Okay, I map pose as well. Sure, there. Okay, there. Okay, and monster damage is not something we like. Monster stun build up is not something we like. I could die. Yeah, I think this is better. Enfeeble is annoying though. Okay. So guys, mapping is simple. You just do explosive shot all about. So what can help is, guys, if you can, one of the crossbows, the best quality crossbow, I believe it's called twin crossbow on the advanced level, patch 01, and the expert version is called Gemini crossbow, which loads an additional bolt. So what it does is it doesn't fire an additional thingy like the bow, right? But what it does is, guys, as you can see, we load ammo in our crossbow and we fire it, right? So we don't need additional skills. So as you can see, I fire it, it reloads, I fire it, it reloads. And as you can see, I can only fire 1 shot before it reloads. That's the condition of explosive shot. As you can see, the shock burst rounds can fire a lot, right? So if you get that, right, the explosive shot goes into firing 2. So that means, guys, instead of fire reload, you will be doing fire reload, fire reload, and that will also save a lot of mana. You will observe that mana goes rather quick when you are firing 1 shot and refilling, because you have to pay the mana cost for reloading the ammunition every single time you fire. Oh. Whoa, what's going on? We had monster life here? Okay, that's why. I mean, they were surviving a little bit much. And as you can see, guys, I have to drink my mana flask every once and then, right? We have a Wisp, the most underwhelming and terrible mechanic of all times. I don't like them at all. They force you go head first into encounters that you don't want to, and the rewards are terrible, right? You chase it across 5 screens, you kill it, and nothing drops. Now life is giving us grief. It's definitely giving us grief. Yeah. So I need a definite better crossbow. Yeah, I think I should just let it dissipate. Yeah. life is bad. So they have 80% additional HP, keep in mind. Normally you are just one-shotting. Let me do the wall here. Yeah, so guys, when you wall the essences, oh, if this is very weird, if the wall does nothing, it immediately breaks the essence. If it does something, it upgrades the essences, it changes the essences, etc. It doesn't break it, but when it does something, it does break. So guys, for example, this build is going to benefit massively from getting 3 charms. Stun charm would be very lovely, right? So a Gemini, I used to have a Gemini crossbow, and yeah. So guys, with a Gemini crossbow, you just don't drink your mana flask at all. But of course, you know, when you are limiting yourself with a Gemini crossbow, the alternatives go much lower. So we are, you know, more than a week into the season, so I would say you would be able to get maybe, if you're lucky, you can maybe get like an 800 DPS crossbow for 1 divine or so. Let me do the trans. Freeze you, okay. Can freeze me. I do have a charm for it. So guys, it's very important that you keep your tailwind stacks and yourself on full HP, because guys, that 71%, what's the name? That 71% evasion with acrobatics that you witnessed was on multiple conditions. First of all, you need to have full HP. Well, second of all, you need to have 10 tailwind stacks. You have to have 3 wind dancer stacks, and on top of it, you have to be not being hit in the last 4 seconds. Right? Recently, that's what it means. Recently means 4 seconds. So yeah, a lot of conditions. If any of them gets broken, the thingy, the evasion goes much lower. So you might have noticed that I am playing with an evasive style, right? I mean, if I'm just doubling back until I can recover. So let me show you. Yeah. As you can see, there is a bit of randomness in its firing in shock burst rounds. So if the rare or boss is not isolated, you're going to do no damage at all, because it only does damage when the target is shocked. If the target is not shocked, it does very much lower damage. And keep in mind, guys, we had a 0.1 guide for an evasion character as well. Evasion characters do fall off a little bit at higher map tiers and endgame content. Why? Because, guys, you have, let's say, 75%, 80% evasion even, right? After acrobatics, which is beautiful. But the thing is, you can still get hit 20% of the time. And thing is, because you are very heavily investing in your evasion, that means you will not have too much armor, you will not have too much energy shield, and that will bring the nasty possibility of getting one-shotted, right? That's the problem. So a viable option is, which is, I'm thinking about a new build, as I said, a build without the 3 dragons. The build I'm thinking about is, I'm thinking about going for evasion energy shield and letting go of acrobatics. So I will have like a 65-70% evasion without acrobatics, and I will have some energy shield as to get not one-shotted, because, guys, 1700 HP and capped resistances, yeah, doesn't do it too good. As you can see, that is the map done. Yeah, for perspective, let me show you. My explosive shot damage is 3.5k. without any buffs. No, hold up. That's wrong, I think. We had the, well, by the way, guys, that's what was making the map a little bit more shaky. We had damage penalty to 20%, and they had 80% increased HP. So I had to deal, more than double damage, because guys, instead of inflicting 100% damage, I was inflicting 80%, and instead of having 100% HP, they had 180%. So 80 versus 180, that's 225%, right? Instead of dealing 100% damage and killing them, I had to do 225%. That's why they were surviving. Yeah. So explosive shot is about 4k. That's level 19. I can get level 20 now because I'm level 90. So that's about it. So as I said, guys, keep in mind, this is, I would say, decent. So for example, you have level the Deadeye, right? You want to play a Crossbow Deadeye, and you can switch to this one when you are climbing to, tier 15 maps. But after tier 15 and, in endgame content, it will start falling off, because as I said, even with 75% evasion, you will be 25% of time. And if that hit kills you 25% of time, right? That's going to be ugly. And of course, I'm on a huge budget, right? This build can be made better. I can get this HP to about 2000, maybe a little higher. I can maybe get a bit of energy shield. I can get my chaos resistance up a little as well, right? Because everything is on a huge budget. And I can also increase my damage. I have no flat damage on my rings. Well, almost basically none, right? And I have no damage on my gloves. So this situation could be made better. And also another warning, another reminder. So the thing is, guys, as I told you, you don't really need the spirit on your amulet. And this could lead you to maybe go for projectile skills, right, for more damage. The thing is, we don't want too high projectile skills, because guys, we are not a spark mage with 10,000 mana. The mana cost becomes overwhelming, especially with the explosive shot getting reloaded every single time, right? 107 mana. This is level 19. So imagine you get a +3 amulet, right? And you get a level 20 skill, so you would have a level 23 explosive shot. And imagine you get some projectile skills on your weapon, right? The mana cost goes up to like more than 200. And imagine, guys, shot out of mana. I mean, you would have to constantly drink your mana flask, which would be tiresome. You could counter it, of course, with a Sapphire with 2% mana on kill. But, if the cost goes 200, I don't think even the 2% mana on kill would do it. Then of course an alternative would be to bring inspiration in here, right? You can just take off Rising Tempest and put in inspiration, lower costs. But I do not advise too high gem levels, especially with explosive shot, because you'll be running out. But as I said, the Gemini crossbow and the twin crossbow, those make your life much easier. First of all, your damage uptime goes much higher. Fire, reload instead of fire, reload. And also the mana cost go insane. So guys, right now, a single shot costs us 107 mana. Take a look at this. I can do like 6 shots maybe, right? Maybe 7 with mana regen. And when you have a twin crossbow, you do shot, reload, fire, reload. That means you are paying like 53 mana per shot, because the mana cost doesn't go up, right? So that's pretty good. What I have found lacking with this build is the area of effect is a bit of a problem. So you fire, guys, a decent group gets killed, but the stragglers around don't get killed, and you can't tolerate too much damage. You have to kill them off as well, especially if they are fast. So another shot is needed. There is that. Yeah, the ascendancy is like this. I have shown this, but you go for Tailwind first, then you go for the point blank, then you grab endless munitions, and finally you grab Windward. Windward will do wonders for your survivability. So 10 Tailwind stacks give you 30% damage reduction. It would lower the chances of getting one-shotted by a lot, but still it can happen. And another thing is, guys, so as I told you, I have 71% fully buffed and all conditions met, right? thing is, that means I'm getting hit 30% of time, right? Roundly speaking. So guys, let's say we have two of those big vulture humanoid fellas that jump at you, right? And you were unlucky and you receive 2 hits back to back. Dead. And the thing is, the first hit is gonna happen 30% of time, and when you get it immediately, your evasion rating will go much lower because you will lose the evasion bonus from not being hit in the last 4 seconds and the evasion bonus from being on full HP. Both will go away, and your evasion goal will drop us down to like maybe 50%, maybe even lower. And so, guys, 30% you take a hit, 50% you take another hit, which combines to 50% and dead, right? Because those big vulture fellas, you cannot really take more than 2 hits. So there is that. So as I said, in the late game, in the end game rather, the evasion builds fall off, but it's definitely a decent one. You finish the campaign, you switch to this, right? As you can see, I'm still on it, right? And you grab your Atlas points, you do the Corrupted Nexus, you climb up to tier 15, and yeah, so it's a nice placeholder build. But I would say, if I was to do a tier list, I would say, I don't want to be unfair, I guess we can say B tier, B minus, C plus, somewhere there. So C, I think, is a little bit unfair maybe, but it's not a top tier build. But as I said, it can be done on a real budget, right? I mean, 2.5 divines, 3 divines, and you're set, right? So you have to invest in these, and obviously you want as much physical damage as you can on the crossbow, because explosive shot converts the physical damage into fire, and you want as high evasion as you can on this. And if you have to sacrifice the resistances, the life whatsoever on this one, right? You want the evasion, because you can gather the stuff from the other slots, but the evasion you can't gather from the other slots, guys. Because, for example, a glove can have like 300, 400 evasion maybe. This guy can give you 2,700, close to 3,000 evasion can be obtained from a chest, right? And it gives double, so 6,000 or so. That is where your main thing comes from. So yeah, that's about it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I shall do my best to answer. I'll see you.